Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is CM Alexander with the news. The Derry Chamber of Commerce has issued a formal apology after hiring the Grady twins to promote this year's Come Play With Us community initiative. Officials maintain they were unaware the girls were dead, let alone minors. The application listing their birth year was provided, explaining the misunderstanding. The twins were last seen handing out coupons for a hotel stay that lasts forever and ever and ever. You're listening to Derry Public Radio. This is Derry Public Radio.
We made time.
Let's just talk about the dog sex man this whole episode.
This rereading, I realized all of the furry allegories really scattered throughout.
It's the line where they mentioned that the lining of the inside of the Overlook is furred.
Yeah.
I missed it the first time through.
It's like a big litter box.
Oh, no!
We're saving it for the podcast,
Welcome
everyone. This
back
is
to
gold.
Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King podcast.
You asshole.
I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Kahn, alongside CM Alexander.
Hello, everyone.
And Eve Gatto.
Hey, constant readers.
As you can tell by entering into nonsense, it's a goof episode.
Yay!
It's Derry Public Radio Revisited. We got another Revisited, folks.
Can we briefly just explain what Revisited is?
Yes.
Revisited is we are going back to revisit books that we have covered on the podcast previously. So far, we have done a revisited of Pet Sematary, one of our favorite books.
Yes.
And this time, we have revisited the Overlook Hotel, another one of our favorite places.
Although we didn't come here by choice.
That's right.
I don't know why I phrased it that way. It's like a good thing, and I mean it's
John
really
L.
bad.
It's a selection from John L. Shout out who selected this Revisited. Put a gun to our head, according to CM. Made us do it.
It's all drama over here. It's been a day.
Yeah, we are going to be jumping back in. It's really funny because we've announced it on our stream the other night, but Salem's Lot Revisited has been added to our list, which is what we all thought the first Revisited would be.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I need to redeem myself for Brad. I think it was Brad or somebody. Sorry if I'm remembering the wrong person.
It was a matter of expecting a book we gave bad scores to be picked, but Pet Sematary was the first one we gave it all fives. Mm-hmm. Shining, we gave it all fives. We're back here again.
Two really dark stories, but might I just say?
Right.
Like two
Not
of our
reads.
favorites.
Yeah.
No, just
yes.
quality of writing wise, it's astounding.
Also, Josh, I just realized I'm supposed to bring us into the episode, and you stole.
It was too good a moment to sit idly by and let it happen. The first episode of our Shining Part 1 coverage was released May 29th of 2022. So it's not been long. It's weirdly longer than I thought, though. It felt like last year.
I thought we just read The Shining.
Me too.
Because this book, longtime listeners of the show know that my memory is like a wet sack of tissues, I guess. It just doesn't hold. I forget everything pretty much as soon as it happens. But this book burrows into your head. It's so good, y'all.
It really is a joy to reread. And I want to start off the episode before we get into discussion of The Shining. I want to share some fun facts about our coverage.
I love fun facts.
They're
first, fun.
They are fun. I want you both to guess Price is Right rules, closest without going over. In episode 1, what was the timestamp on the episode when we finally got to the Overlook?
To the Overlook?
Yes.
So that's
our
like
characters
what?
To the Overlook.
Chapter 3?
Yes.
Oh. Do you have a guess,
well,
CM? You edit the episode,
I know,
so you have
I don't know if it's fair.
Okay, because it had to
So
have
you
been
get to
a
go
full
first.
half hour.
A half hour. Okay, CM?
45 minutes.
it took us to the 54-minute mark.
Wow.
54 minutes and 40 seconds when we finally got to the Overlook.
Okay, is The Shining the book that broke us? Because
Kind of.
for the longest time, we tried to keep the podcast at close to an hour. And I think it was the first episode of The Shining. We wrapped up and went, fuck.
Yeah. And then it was
it-
like every episode was an hour and a half after that.
Yeah, it was the one that gave us the we didn't do a single episode of it in the 6 episodes under an hour and a half.
Mhm.
And then we tried to get back to it, and then it was just like, no, we can't do it.
Oh.
So it broke us, but The Shining really made us
Cemented it.
realize that we needed to
That
go
this
longer.
is where we need to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the Overlook.
Now, the episodes...
I've always been here.
We did this for Pet Cemetery. I'm going to give you the title of the episode, and I want you to tell me which one of us said it.
Oh, I love this game.
Episode 1 is titled Better Than Melatonin.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I feel like it was me.
That sounds like a CM
It
thing.
does.
Okay. Do either of you recall the context? It was CM. That is
Wendy
correct.
laying in bed with Jack.
With his warm
Drippage.
seed
Drippage.
trickling down her thigh.
And I thought of, when you said better than melatonin, I imagined that scene. I was like, oh, I said that
Yep,
for sure.
I absolutely said that. Episode 2 is titled Shines for Dick.
It could be any of us. It could be any of us.
CM, your guess?
Me?
I think it was me.
It was me.
We all felt it. We all felt
We
it.
all want to take ownership of the
Good
concept
job,
of shining for dick.
And episode 3 was titled Grady's Titters.
Eve.
Me?
Me.
Oh, I didn't get any of them.
Oh, you were on fire.
I was really doing well on the Shining episodes. Now, those are the first things I really wanted to share. But now I have to ask you both, how's your English language knowledge?
Ah, terrible.
Like, in what way?
You know, like the
Like-
types of speech, the
like
parts of sentences,
Grammatically.
grammar?
Yeah.
I get
You know,
I
adjectives,
graduated
nouns,
grade
verbs.
school, so
It's time for Mad Libs, y'all.
great.
This is like riddles somehow. Don't think about it.
CM, I'll go easy on you
Okay.
first. Give me a place in your house.
Oh, the studio.
Podcast studio, perfect.
Obviously, a standard. You know, 80% of American homes have podcast studios now.
That feels like a real stat. Eve, an adjective.
Gross.
Perfect. Give me, Eve, also a color.
Pink.
And CM, a noun.
Ooh.
That is a person.
I know,
place,
I was looking around my room for
CM is-
inspiration.
You can't say Picard because it was already used last time.
I think I said books first last time.
That's true.
Lamp.
Classic Stephen King monster lamp. All right. And then there is a moment that I'm going to play for all of us.
Okay.
And this is from episode 4, where we spent a lot of time. Eve, I'm going to hit play. You are discussing about us not being able to consume media in a vacuum, because we are discussing about how while the Shining movie is not The Shining, it is still The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That sounds like something I would say.
And we're talking about the bartender Lloyd situation, which we loved
So
how it's handled in the
good.
book and everything. And this is just a moment. All right, here we go.
I wish I could have seen this movie before I read the book. I do. Because I would love to know what I thought about the movie without the context of the book. But we here at the table have the context, and that informs, at least for me, it informed a lot of my reading of the themes of the movie.
Yes. I saw so many things that someone who loved this book
put in the movie.
Yes,
He didn't make them over. So the thing when you said you wish you had seen it first, so you could know what that interpretation would be. We were sitting there when it came to the first Lloyd scene specifically. I turned to see you guys. I was like, holy fucking shit! The way this shot is set up, because Jack comes in the gold room, jumping way ahead. Sits down at the bar. Good. There's nothing in there. He turns on the light. He's just got his face in his hands. He's so put out, and he's like, I wish I had a beer. And then you're facing him all of a sudden. He's looking directly into the camera, pulls his hands down, smiles at you.
So awesome.
And then he's like, hey, Lloyd. And it cuts to Lloyd. And we know what all of this means because we've read the book. And I'm just like, God, I wish I could see this not knowing that, because I want to know what I would have made of this.
Because it's otherworldly, it's sudden and unexplained.
You saw the movie before you read the book.
Oh my God, I did.
Amazing.
Is that all that was for?
I wanted to point that out because we spent a lot of time in the beginning of that episode talking about you having seen it and not having read it.
Okay, listeners, when you're sitting in this room for so long and you don't get to like the fourth page until an hour into talking, you forget your own life.
Also, like, you sit in a room and talk extemporaneously for an hour straight. You're gonna forget stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have a bad brain like me.
It's just,
or Sam, I guess.
I was like, what was my excuse?
It's just one of those examples that all three of us do where we go pretty far down a rabbit hole and then we're like, oh, wait.
What were we talking about?
How did I get here?
So, if we're taking a pause from Mad Lib.
Yeah.
Since you talked a lot about our first Shining episodes, I also wanted to bring up some stuff because against character, I was listening to the show last week.
Oh.
Right?
What do you think?
It's pretty... Okay, so the episode that I decided to go back and re-listen to is one of probably my favorite to record series that we did. Rose Red.
Oh, wow.
It was a long time ago, but if you have not listened to the Rose Red episodes, the way we recorded it is 3-hour miniseries. We watched the first episode, recorded an episode. We watched the second episode, we recorded an episode. Third episode, we
marathoned it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like we were in our 20s, but we weren't.
By the end of the third episode, we're like so punch drunk. It's great. But I was really glad I went back and re-listened. Oh, first of all, whoever that fucking guy that used to host the show was, pretty funny.
Funny guy, yeah.
You're way better.
Yeah, thank you. But I was glad I went back and re-listened to this episode because there are a few things that we discuss about Rose Red that I found interesting. In retrospect, having read The Shining for the show afterwards.
Okay.
In the first episode, Professor Dean, the guy who's trying to break into Rose Red to get his psychology department's ghost equipment back, I guess, breaks into the greenhouse. And we spend a not insignificant amount of time talking about how dumb it is that he runs into a bunch of ghost bees.
What?
We talk a lot about how Rose Red is a remix of a ton of different King tropes. And there's a scene where a dead hive of bees comes to life and attacks a guy, and we're like, dumb.
Was it the idea or the effects?
And it was also really bad. I believe I called it BGI.
Oh,
nice.
So good.
But between that and we also, this is mostly me. I go on an extended riff about how silly the plot point of Annie being used to wake up the ghosts is.
Yeah.
They're like, they're going to take a psychic into a haunted house and it's going to make ghosts go? That's dumb. What are we doing here?
Holy shit.
So,
Fair point.
yeah.
Well, it just proves that when something is done really well, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah.
And
See,
when it's
what-
not, you get rose red.
See, what I think it proves is that Rose Red is great.
I knew you were going to try to say that.
I will have to get someone to pay for
No,
Stephen
Eve,
King
stop
Revisited.
it.
If someone does that, I swear to God,
Don't.
I'll be so happy. We'll do it the same format too. 6 hours.
Die.
That's absolutely insane. I have been thinking that the thing that was missing from The Shining was someone with a psychology degree.
I like how, in retrospect, Dick Halloran is a no-see.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
What a dumb movie.
Those cognition descriptions. I love it. All right, I'm going to get to the book. We've had the discussion off mic. Listeners, we'll bring you in a little bit, that it was a bit challenging because this book is so good. What do you say about a book that's so good again? Whereas Pet Sematary, we'd had so much distance. This we didn't. So I found myself really looking for things in this read through, especially because the first time I'd read it, I obviously hadn't read Dr. Sleep. And when I read it for the podcast, it was my first time reading it critically. So I wasn't really thinking about Dr. Sleep at the time. And so I'm going to get into some interesting things, I think, later about Steam. So I'm just going to slide that in right now.
I am really looking forward to that because I was trying to read this with Dr. Sleep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I can hardly remember Dr. Sleep. I
Sure.
feel bad and I'm sure I gave it 5 shivers. But that book somehow didn't make an impression on me, apparently.
It did I
remember
remember
bits
a lot
and
of
pieces,
parts.
but nothing that would influence like the character Danny from The Shining.
Oh,
as
interesting.
we're revisiting.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it because this read through was all about vibes for me. I was just like brain empty ghost story. This rules.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear all the little bits. I did catch a few things.
I did catch one thing. This isn't really related to anything, but did either of you pick up on the fact that Mrs. Massey is less than a year old ghost?
Oh no, but that was very recent.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was
Oh.
that past summer. And because we always see the depiction I
Yeah.
think of when I think of Mrs. Massey is, I think, decades dead. But she's just an older lady who died in
Yeah.
a
she's,
tub.
I guess I had this weird thing that I didn't realize till now, where the grosser a ghost looks, like the more
older
time
it
I
is,
feel
The
like
longer
it's
they've been
had
dead.
to
Yeah.
Yeah.
rot. Yeah, but I guess that doesn't have to be the case. Interesting.
But there is something about the what it did for me is point out the malevolence. It's kind of why Mrs. Massey is so strong compared to the other ghosts, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
Why
she's fresh.
yeah. And so that freshness.
She's kind of like a mermaid.
Oh, you know what?
Wait, are
A little
newborn
bit.
mermaids more powerful? What is the lore we're going off of
Well,
here?
she's in a bathtub.
Uh-huh.
And she's a very powerful, sexy, according to Jack, woman.
Definitely.
And dangerous. And strength that is more than a human person would typically have.
I think you're describing
Fair.
a siren.
I mean, same difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but pretty
yeah.
close. Yeah. Sirens have wings, though.
Oh, I was going to ask, unless we already talked about this on the previous episodes, Josh, are there things like that happening, like ghost-wise, more since Dick started cooking there? Like,
I
would
don't
he
think
would
so.
he activate some energy
That's
in the hotel
interesting,
because
though.
it craves that power, but he leaves every winter?
I'm really glad you mentioned that, actually, because that ties into
Craves-
something that's going to come up later.
Craving Dick. Oh, yeah, the only thing
Yeah.
I took away from Revisited, I'm sorry to say this, is every time there were the words somebody needed dick.
Dick, please.
Or cried for
Dick, come,
dick.
please.
Yes, I thought we're such children.
Yes, 1,000%.
Because I had the exact same reaction the first time, which was
something we didn't get a chance to talk about a lot. We skimmed over the play. It is very crucial to Jack. It is his big project. And it was pointed out to us on social media afterwards that the apt pupil Easter egg, the teacher in Jack's play is named Mr. Dusander.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Huh.
And so there is like a weird, because God love Reddit, somebody posting that Jack Torrance is an Alan Wake-esque figure and can write realities. So I did do...
Dusander wasn't a teacher, though.
We don't know what Dusander did. Now,
Sure.
so I did some research. I went back to Apt Pupil, God forgive me, and found out that what definitively makes this an untrue, impossible circumstance is that when Mr. Denker shares what he's been doing, he shares with everybody that he's retired. He says that he has only taken low-profile cash under the table jobs. So couldn't have been a teacher.
Yeah.
But it made me want to do the research just in case. It was a fun little thread to pull.
The play is, it's interesting that we didn't talk about it very much, because I feel like most of our writer protagonists, we have spent a short amount of time for all of them to discuss, do you think this person's a good writer?
But we don't really get a sample of Jack's the way we do the other writers.
True.
We don't.
I think-
But from the description of the story, the point that he gets stuck on is that he starts the book thinking that this rich kid is his protagonist and that the teacher is this washed up fool. And he's been writing at the Overlook, and now he's relating more to the teacher and hating the child. And for this, the play doesn't work. What are you talking about? That is a really interesting dynamic for a play.
Yeah.
Two characters that you start believing in one, and as it goes, realizing who starts as the villain is actually the sympathetic hero. The fact that he's like, nah, I can't think of anything. I think
Garbage.
Jack might be an idiot.
I thought about that, but not as explicitly, because I felt like I wonder if it was the influence of the hotel making him kind of, because he was projecting a lot onto these characters. He's basically telling the story of what happened to him as he goes along and giving them motivations that are very clearly tied to himself and what's the guy's name? I want to say Andrew.
The kid. Yeah.
George Hatfield.
Thank you, George Hatfield. So I wondered if the hotel was like interfering with his ability to finish this in the way that it should be finished too. So I think maybe his reluctance to recognize that as viable could be like a little too close to home.
Very fair.
Yeah, I tried to keep in mind the constant stress in Jack's mind because we spend a lot of it. We talk about it in the other episodes. There's a line that it's towards the end where it says Danny would have gone insane in this moment if it weren't for the fact he'd been living the last few months in utter terror every day. And because we get that explicitly, and because Jack is so frustrating about his denial, like when the topiary attack, and it's just out and out refusal, even though he knows it's untrue, you are angry about his dismissal, so you reject that it cracked him.
Yeah. I was thinking about this too. Like, you two are bringing up all the cool things that were just stuff that just stuck in. I listened to this like 3 times, and each time, and I thought like I did it 3 times. I'm like, oh, I need a couple things to, pick up on. So I'll listen a few times. And I kept getting stuck on the same things. Eve, what you brought up, and then Josh, with the way Jack reacts to those things. This read through, I had an even more difficult time in those moments. It was really hard to listen to, and I wanted to skip through some because it was so just my heartbreaking for Danny was even greater. Not because I felt differently about Danny, but because my feelings about Jack were way more complex.
Yes.
It was really hard to reconcile. So if I remember correctly, Josh, you were the one trying to help us, or maybe just me, be a little more sympathetic.
Yes, I find
We were
Jack
very
Torrance to be a
frustrated.
tragic figure,
Absolutely.
and less of a villain.
Yes.
Yeah, and I found myself seeing that more this read through, but then
Sweet.
also feeling even more upset when he was doing those things.
The final scene between Danny and Jack wrecked me this time.
Really? Oh, I was so excited to talk to you about that scene this time.
Okay, because the moment when Danny's like, "You're not my father," it hit me really powerfully that, like, yeah, Jack, it's when he says, like, it's not true. You're a false face. You could only take him because you made him drink the bad stuff. Without that, you could not have touched him because he actually loves me. And that fucking wrecked my shit.
Yeah.
It's so, Jack Torrance is one of the best tragic characters in literature. I truly believe that.
There's a moment that ever since you said it, Eve, has not left my mind when I think about Jack Torrance. And it is when we discussed his relationship to his dad, because he very much does not want to be his dad. He can't stop himself. And it's really tragic. And it was the game Elevator when you delightfully pointed out to me that in those sometimes where this 6 foot tall played uppies and threw Jackie Torrance over his head to the ground, I remarked sometimes he'd forget to stop, and Eve corrected me. Never says forgot, just says he sometimes did it. And this time reading that moment, I took in every word of that sentence and was like, there it is.
There is something, like, we talked extensively about the two adaptations and how we really love both of them for different reasons.
True.
But this read through, there were certain things that I could not help noticing and being like, this aspect didn't make it into either of them, and that's wild.
Such as?
Jack's dad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah,
Jack's
we get a glimpse
dad
a little bit.
And the wasps are such a central theme to the whole thing. And the fact that there's no wasp imagery in the movies is like, it feels like something really, I don't know, something like at the heart of the book is missing.
It helps color Jack.
King made up for it in Rose Red.
The greatest miniseries of all time.
His dad, this read through, when it comes back around to him with the wasps, all of a sudden, just like relating to his dad so hard when you saw him being so adamant that he wasn't going to be like that. Stings, I don't know, everything just hurt more. Ooh, stings.
Stings.
Yeah.
You can almost see how the Overlook pulls at his pride and at his sense of imposter syndrome and all the insecurities Jack has. You can see it just rifle through him.
I gotta get this out of the way. I don't know how to say this without it sounding shitty. Like running a hotel is not a bad job. It's a very complicated and difficult one, I'm sure. No shade to that at all. But Jack just really, really so badly wants to be a really good manager of this hotel. Like the way he turned, and I know it's like evil stuff, but the way he gets so like corporate boy stood out to me a little bit more.
Like the just before the elevator party scene when he's like, I have to check the elevator, and she's like, there could be people. I'm the caretaker, Wendy. It's my job.
But you're here to write a play, dude.
Yeah, calm down. You run a boiler. Cool it.
Literally.
Another scene that really stood out to me about his relationship to the job and the hotel is the first scene in the ballroom where the ghosts are awake.
Yeah.
Where he sees Horace Derwent and Dog Boy. And the conversation, the the immediate juxtaposition of him watching the owner of the hotel purposefully like humiliating and publicly degrading a person who is just like searching for that acceptance. Jack being like, I'm uncomfortable for some reason, turning around and immediately running into Grady. Immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately they are having the conversation about, this is your job. You're the caretaker. And that's when Jack realizes, what do you mean they want Danny? That is the juxtaposition of Horace Derwent lording over this party with an iron fist and Jack starting to realize that he is at the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, he's just a cog in the wheel.
It is so devastating. It is really, really hard.
Hard too, because you want him to be like, oh my God, my kid's not safe. And instead he's like, but what about me? I'm cool.
Can't they just go home or whatever?
Yeah, like I'm the one you want anyway.
I have a question. First, Eve, I need a person's name.
Bill Nye.
Hell yeah.
The science guy.
CM, I need a plural toy.
Balls.
Eve, an emotion.
Horny.
CM, a material.
Metal.
All right. I want to ask you, we refer to in The Shining, the Overlook being our antagonist. I wonder, and there's no real evidence to back this up except for the loose connections I'm about to make.
This is the Stephen King fandom. Wild speculation is on the table.
Is Horace Derwent one with the Overlook? I believe so, because all of the other hauntings happen in a vacuum. They are all individuals. It is only when Horace is there that it is a room full of people. And I don't think that whole room full of people died. If they did, we never got that story. That'd be a pretty cool side story, though. But I imagine it's just the hunt for Danny. It gives me this weird, like, backstory of Horace, fucking Full Metal Alchemist merging himself with the hotel, you know?
Kind of, was it H.H. Holmesy?
The murder house?
Yeah. Well, because didn't he
of.
build like a crazy murder hotel?
Yeah.
I just saw Horace as like, I think he is the most obvious like avatar for the hotel. He represents the like opulence at the expense of others. And he is like the focal point of the haunting, maybe. But also, I love that we don't know, because that mirrors Jack's experience with the ledger, because he is searching for answers, and there are just no answers there, because the only answers are violence and evil.
I think too, like, kind of going with what you said, Eve, about being the avatar, he could be like the ghostly embodiment of the Overlook. Like, think specifically about the word overlook. Usually you miss something, or overlooking, like to keep your eye on things or keep, control of things. So he could, I don't know.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. CM, I'm going to go to you first on this. Because I noticed, I mentioned earlier the playing elevator game. It was a moment that when that scene started, I got way ahead of myself and got to that moment. Did you find yourself any of the moments, like you start this section and you're like, oh, this is, I know I'm about to go through this beat, and dreaded it.
I remembered the dinner table scene. For the flashbacks.
His dad and his mom.
That was actually what stood out to me the worst. From his childhood, just because it's just the way King writes it and describes it. And, we're talking about like mashed potatoes and her glasses, her eyewear. Every detail hurt.
It's bad. The moment that I kind of had that feeling was near the end of the book, the first time we get a timestamp.
Yeah.
That when they say is like, it's 6 something on the morning of whatever of December 2nd,
1st.
I was driving back from driving a friend to the train station. And that happened. And I think I said out loud in my car by myself, here we go.
It's like playing a horror video game and all of a sudden they're loading you up with like ammo and health stuff. And you're like,
something's about to go down. Yeah. I kept coming back to, we talked a lot about the prose. It's such a beautifully written book. Was there a line or a recurring phrase that kept coming back to you? Because I kept, I don't know, falling in love with is a weird way to phrase it, but that phrase, this inhuman place makes human monsters.
We definitely talked about that
did,
a lot.
but it rings, every time I hear it, I get hyped.
I was so excited. And it was like, we were questioned earlier about were you waiting for a specific moment or anticipating it. I did that with, we talked, this was the thing that got me. Same thing from last time. The way the house is described, it's like the first snowfall, I think. Or I'm sorry, the Overlook, not the house. And they go back inside and all of a sudden we're sort of seeing them from the perspective of the Overlook and they're like these microbes and the monsters.
Oh yeah.
And I literally out loud, I was like, oh, it's still so good. It hits just as hard.
We said it last time, this is the book that if someone's like, Stephen King, hand them The Shining and be like, this dude can write the fuck out of a book. It's so good. So I want to bring up something because I have to mention it on the podcast so that one of you or a listener will remember it at the end of the year, because I won't. Because this read through gave me a real solid Big Steve Award candidate.
Our very first Big Steve Award went to someone from this book.
Did they?
Was it the guy who...
Howard Cottrell.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was our very first Big Steve winner.
That is great.
His mittens.
And similar, the based ass lady on the plane that Dick talks to.
The love story on
The
the
one he
plane.
shot
Yeah,
a
where he's
shot.
like,
Yeah.
I have a metal plate in my head from Korea. And she's just like, yeah, we shouldn't have wars. The CIA fucking starts all the wars. And I'm like, hell yeah, this lady rules. I love her. And then when they get off the plane and she's like, hey, do you want to get a drink? And I'm like, yeah, oh, we got to go fight ghosts.
Oh,
but
man. What if?
Yeah.
We want that Hot Dick Summer book.
I forgot.
I don't know what. Oh, jeez. It was around this time where I started to get really scared for Dick. I thought, because I don't laugh. How am I supposed
I'm
to?
scared for Dick. What does that mean?
I don't know, but I want to see it.
That's so stupid.
Sorry, Sam, you were
What a
saying?
stupid
Never
show.
mind.
I'm so sorry.
No,
what
I
were you
don't even
saying?
think I should talk.
No,
anymore.
you're scared for Dick. I have to figure out what that means.
Because I do love the movie so much.
Mm.
I kept misremembering that he dies in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
No.
Were you very happy, though?
I was so relieved. It was like a gift.
The tension of Dick released.
Ugh.
I was like, thank God. You just can't with this book. No, I remember.
Dick Tension is my wrestling name.
Holy fuck!
Hold on. Is that anything?
I love that.
Perfect.
I was going to ask later on about Halloran's return because it is both brave and foolhardy, and we see how it's rewarded in the movie.
Yeah.
How has the finale of Dick changed for you?
I do wish we had more of him, like in the miniseries. I think it would have fit really well. I don't think the movie was that kind of movie to
Right.
have that, because his journey, just how hard he tries to get, and kind of reluctantly too, because he's sort of like, oh man, this sucks. I do not want to be doing this. But
Yeah, when he gets close to the hotel and he's like, oh, I'm going to die.
Mhm.
Like, the omens are there. It's bad.
And even it's not even the Overlook doing anything yet. It is just the weather.
Yeah.
The weather is so bad. I don't know. It made me wish that the character had gotten his moment for us to see him just barely succeeding time after time after time and what he was willing to go through. And then when he finally gets there, even when he's inside, he still has all of these hero moments and pays a huge price for every single one of them.
Yeah, I would love a Dick spinoff.
Yes.
And also, if Dick Halloran got a book, that'd be awesome.
Zing.
We want more Dick. There, I said it.
There, I said it. Did the moment before he leaves, when he sees the words "will" staring up at him, hit differently, or did you forget he survived again at that moment?
I don't remember.
It's right before he's gotten the Western Union thing and faked his emergency, and he's getting back to his room to pack up and go, and he had his will done. His last will it falls out, and he looks at it and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
boy."
I hadn't remembered still, and I was like, well, thank goodness he did that, because he's gonna die.
It's such a good misdirect.
It is.
And I think that is one of the great things that the Kubrick movie has done, is anybody who has seen that and then read this will 1,000% be like, yeah, that poor bastard, he's going. We talked a lot about how Jack has changed. Did Wendy change for you with the new perspective on Jack?
If I recall, we loved Wendy.
Yes.
And we thought she was a
She's badass.
Yeah, very strong woman. And it made me think about the character from the Kubrick version, Shelley Duvall, who did an amazing job, even though
With
she was
what she had
forced
to do.
Yeah. And how different these two characters were. I still love Wendy. I feel I was still upset for her. And this was part of my complicated feelings about Jack. Again, when we're back in the past and we're getting these memories of when they first started dating and when he first started going out and drinking. And it hit me just as hard, I feel like, when he sold his first story, and she's like, he took his joy somewhere else.
Yep.
He didn't, share it at home with us. And because I was like, man, because I was feeling so sympathetic for Jack. I'm like, no, he's a fucker from way back.
Yeah.
From way back. It's so funny because we talked a little bit about Wendy's family trauma because we don't explore it a lot, because Wendy doesn't really dwell on it. What we get of family trauma is people dwelling on it. She seems to bury it and move forward. And it wasn't until this read that I really read her as just a woman trying to hold her family together. Full stop.
Yeah, and not be like her mom.
Yep.
Her mom was as scary to me this time through as Jack's dad. It was just, a physical thing, well, more so physical versus a more so psychological.
See, I thought at one point, like, in an alternate world, there is a version of this story that is even fucking darker, because there is the moment where Wendy stabs Jack. And I was like, imagine the book where that happens and Wendy becomes the new
Caretaker.
By committing that
Caretaker.
amount of violence.
Because like a theme of is alcoholism, obviously, but because of Wendy's mother, the theme of like generational trauma and, the effects of abuse and how it affects the next generation. Like, there's a world where Wendy breaks as well, I think. And that would be fucked up.
That's an interesting idea. I don't disagree with it, but I
don't know. It's a
no, my
thought.
initial thought was, because Jack's disease and his personality and his pride can all kind
where
of
he ages really
create
fast.
This.
What?
Jack's disease.
The movie Jack, Jesus Christ.
Where he ages really
Yeah.
fast
Oh
and
my
looks
God.
like Robin Williams.
But
Sorry.
it can create it can open a space for something more violent that I think is a very integral part of how the Overlook gets its power. I think Wendy's trauma would make her susceptible to things, but would not make her susceptible to becoming a violent person when she's not. And I think it needs violence.
Actually, the thing that I take back the thing I said a minute and a half ago, because another thing that stood out to me this listen through is how masculine the Overlook is. Everything about the hauntings is very like praise on Jack's insecurity about his masculinity.
Yeah. And his role, it's very, traditional
So yeah,
roles, all that.
I was talking out of my ass. I
No,
don't think
that-
Wendy.
You are not talking out of your ass if it leads to a fun discussion.
Very true.
Otherwise, that's all we do for all of these episodes.
Yeah,
for
that's
6
kind of
years.
what a book club is, huh?
Yeah.
Eve?
Yeah.
Would you give me a plural sea
No.
creature?
Oh, I think CM
Do you want
wants
to take this one? I know
You're
it's
not
Yes, absolutely.
Seahorses. I love them.
Yep. I was writing it down as soon as this conversation
Sorry.
began.
I did not know that about you, CM.
I have a
She has
tattoo
a
of
tattoo.
a seahorse on me.
Oh, okay.
I love seahorses so much that it's weird that everybody doesn't know that I don't talk about it. This is how much I love you guys. I try not to be like that.
Seahorse, sea hell,
I need an abstract noun.
lighthouses. Oh, and what?
An abstract noun.
The fuck is an abstract noun?
Like,
You,
What does that mean?
hold on.
you want and
I can't get the example because the example's from the
do you want
thing.
an adjective on that noun?
You know what? Yeah, just throw a...
Oh, an adjective noun.
But make it abstract.
Make it okay. This is the hardest one. Why
Yes, it
would
is.
you?
You passed on seahorses. This is on you.
Yeah. Vorpal blade.
Nice. CM, a place to dump a body.
The woods.
In the
woods.
garbage.
Eve, I need a mineral.
Okay. Quartz.
Good mineral.
Mm.
Now, getting back into the book, I want to talk about what I hinted at earlier, and that is steam. We made fun of it so much in Dr. Sleep because it is very silly. And it's Stephen King wasn't planning on steam. We're not just going to pretend that he thought
Yeah.
that far ahead.
Mhm.
But working within the rules he'd set, I pulled out some things that I thought colored how we see The Shining and how it could be portrayed as steam. The first is the shine as a consumable energy, because Dick, when they're talking about The Shining, there's a lot about that first conversation, and he expresses it as radio waves, that people operate on different frequencies, which implies that there is something radiating out, which we would normally refer to. The shine makes you think of radiant light
Mhm.
shining out everywhere. Dick refers to the shining as pouring off of him, not pouring out of him. Shining,
Mhm.
pouring out, pouring off of him, like heavy fog. I just thought that an interesting.
I like
Steam's hot and rises.
that. I didn't think the idea of it being consumable and connecting that to Dr. Sleep is fun, especially with the idea, which I'm sure you're going to mention because it's the most obvious one, of the boiler.
Mhm, yep.
Mhm.
The Overlook has its own source of steam.
Right.
Mhm.
It
That's the
runs on
control,
steam,
yeah.
basically. It's powered by steam, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yes, the Overlook, we talked a lot about the True Knot are psychic vampires. The Overlook is a psychic vampire. It feeds off those same things. We discussed the reason Mrs. Massey isn't able to kill Danny is likely that she choked him to the point he passed out and then wasn't able to dip into pull
Oh.
that power out.
I assumed that the hotel wouldn't let her kill him because it wanted Jack to do that.
It wouldn't need Jack to do that if someone else could. It doesn't. Jack.
I guess I was thinking of it more of as the Overlook has its own play, and it's
Yeah.
the purpose of that play is to maximize the grief and suffering and energy that it can suck up before it takes the ultimate prize, which is Danny, which is not what the book says at all. I just
But it
That's-
makes sense. It fits with what we know from this book and Dr. Sleep.
Next is Tony, because we don't really get Tony, especially once we get to Dr. Sleep. Tony is acknowledged, but not really. He hasn't had a new take on Tony in all these years, apparently.
It's like he just had to be there because he was such a part of Danny's childhood.
Right. And the idea of Tony would come when Danny called for him. And I started thinking about, this is going to be very silly, so just stay with me.
Okay.
I'm there.
The idea of manifesting Tony, the idea like a genie in a lamp, the steam. Danny had so much that he could manifest a whole other person to comprehend the things his 5-year-old brain couldn't,
Mhm.
and try to relay those things. Another just bit of his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like.
And it's also part of like why he's so far away.
I love
think.
putting it into those like just very explicit words because
Yeah.
you get that, but it doesn't really spell it out like that. And it's nice to because it gives makes Tony more interesting.
Because
What?
Tony is him. Like
Yeah,
that is like what it's kind of the frustrating thing to me is that it wasn't explained further than that. It's like, what are we supposed to get from that? I'm going to leave you with this final bit that I think is the most compelling piece to draw on for Steam. And it is back to the conversation that Dick and Danny have in the kitchen. And Halloran is explaining things he learned from his grandmother. And this is something that before we just attributed to how ghosts be, but it's she said people who died with the shine in them sometimes left a little of it behind. And we see that the dead body is the steam coming out of people.
Nice.
And so that was my favorite one. Is I hung on that sentence for a bit and I was like, hold on a minute.
I just realized I had also kept waiting to get Dick's story of the funeral.
Oh yeah.
Which is from Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. God. I know we are not talking about Dr. Sleep, but I do really love that the movie, the way it corrected him dying in the first movie, just making him a ghost. Just so smart. I loved it. Eve, I need an adjective.
Oh, God. There has to be a good one. Gay.
It is an adjective. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Happy Pride, everyone.
CM, a shape.
Round.
Eve, a bodily function. Probably should have gone to CM for that one.
Shitting.
Perfect. CM, a verb ending in ing. A verb is an action word.
No.
I know, I'm just This is how I host improv shows too. Eve has seen it firsthand so many times. These are old bits.
Yeah. It's very antagonistic.
Yes.
Floundering.
Ooh. Someone's got a PhD in programs. Now, we have danced around Dr. Sleep, which we are not talking about, but knowing Danny's future, did that impact the way you read him this time? Sam, you said it earlier that it wasn't really... It gave me weirdly made him feel more fragile because I can tell he breaks later.
I could see that. I kind of had a similar thought, but I guess I wanted to be thinking about adult Danny's journey more, having read Dr. Sleep, and I didn't. And I can't blame Dr. Sleep for that. It's my own brain. But I was disappointed. It's like, oh, I guess that didn't. That's when I realized, that book did not really make an impression on me. Maybe it's unfair, and I probably said this to compare it to The Shining, the impression that made on me. But no, so I'm sorry. I don't have a good... I think it could very easily. Did it for either of you?
See, I had the same pretty much, and it made me realize, because I think one of the problems I had when we read Dr. Sleep was I felt a disconnect between child Danny and adult Danny.
Yeah.
Just because so much time has passed and his journey is so heavy. But I don't know, going back, even knowing where he ends up, I don't know, it didn't.
Because it's not about him. It's about Abra. And I think that's primarily, I wonder what it would have been like for us or anyone else who feels like us to have gotten something that was Danny, like this being about him. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I just thought because I know the alcoholism breaks him later, seeing Danny see his dad go through this, it was like watching little cracks form in that little boy. Of it gave me a weird feeling of oh, buddy, you don't know you've already internalized this.
Yeah.
You don't know that this is going to come back in 20 some years and destroy you.
Now that you mention it, the ending where Dick talks to Danny and is like, you know what? You ever think about your dad? You go in a room and you cry it out,
It's-
and then you hold your feelings down.
Yeah, Dick gave some real old school advice.
Yikes. Like that will explain a drinking problem.
Dick means well, but sometimes it's destructive.
Yes. I forgot to share 2 more fun facts
Ooh.
at the top in my designated fun fact section.
Ooh, I like a revisited fun fact.
This is Derry Public Radio.
Fun facts
Fun Facts
revisited.
Revisited. CM paid me $100 for this. She doesn't know it yet, but she did. Eve,
Yes.
this series inspired you to publicly apologize to Louis Creed.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just thought it was very funny that our first revisited was visiting Louis Creed, and then you specifically were like, I have to apologize because Jack's way more a piece of shit.
He was a great dad compared to...
And you also learned a lesson here, Sam, and it was your ratings. This is the book that broke your rating system.
Oh, this is when I realized what a 5 chambray shirt rating truly meant.
And I want to ask you both, because I thought it was very funny. Complete this joke I made in regards to CM's rating. Yes, CM, by your score, The Shining is just as good as blank.
Oh, Lord. Oh, God.
The look of horror on
You
CM's
could
face.
not have given Dreamcatcher 5, right? Impossible.
I couldn't have given it to Cell.
It was Cell. The Shining, according to CM Alexander, The Shining is just as good as Cell.
What? Okay,
That's untrue.
I need to revisit it on Cell so I can re-rate it. Listeners, I will pay you $100 to pay us $100. Don't tell Josh or Eve.
That's amazing.
Oh, nothing means anything.
CM's gonna carry $100 bill to the next meet and greet we have with fans, just in case she can pass it to get it back. All right, it's time for our last bit of Mad Libs. CM, I need a funny sounding word.
Biff.
Biff?
Does it have to be a real word?
Biff.
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 TH.
Oh, that's not a word.
That's the uncanny valley of the mouth as far as words go.
That was my nickname in college.
Can't fucking argue with that.
Eve, I need a piece of sports equipment.
Curling stone.
It's
the big thing with the handle that the guys on the ice
curling
throw.
stone?
Yeah, they're
That's
called
cool.
stones.
I didn't know that.
CM, a noun.
What's a noun, Josh?
It is a person, place, or
Fucking got you.
Yes, and
Tasha Yar.
you got a Star Trek in there. And Eve, a length of time.
18 weeks, 3 days, 5 hours, 12 seconds.
I thought you were going to say 19 minutes.
Oh, I forgot minutes.
19 minutes, 12 seconds.
Yeah,
We got to get 19 in there.
of course. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Is that anything?
Lost on me.
Ah.
We're old.
Now, I'm going to start putting this together, but I want to make sure we have some discussion amongst us while I'm doing all that hard work. Now, I want to talk about the symbolism, because we've talked a lot about that in all of our coverage of The Shining, because there's so much in it. We got real into the wasp stuff,
Mhm.
which, as we said, we're sad it's not more in the adaptations. Is there any symbolism that hit you harder this time or just stood out more? For me, it was the Jack and the boiler. It was my repressed anger and like
Oh shit! Yeah,
yeah,
that's really good.
and
You
Jack
have to
needing
let
to
it
let
off.
steam and just
Wow, that's a
That was
really
good.
obvious metaphor that I did not catch on to at all.
I think mine goes back to the Wendy Jack relationship and their childhood and that trauma, because it stood out more that neither of them were necessarily escaping. They almost were, but they were sucked back into sort of these tragic outcomes and repeating patterns in their lives. Not to judge them or blame them, but you are drawn to what is familiar because that's comfortable, even if it's bad. Yeah. And I clearly saw Wendy finding that familiarity and comfort in Jack. And Such a bummer.
Yeah.
Scariest moments. There are a million Stephen King moments in
Mhm.
this. Scariest, supernatural, and non-supernatural moment.
When Wendy's in the hallway, sort of towards the end, and when she's got the knife, Jack is locked in the pantry. I think he's already locked in the pantry.
Mhm.
And there are ghosts just in the hallways partying, and the one like screams in her face.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about how that would be if that really happened to you.
Yeah, because then it's just gone
Yeah.
the next second. Yeah. Non-supernatural?
The abuse.
The dinner,
Yeah.
the dinner scene
Yeah.
for sure.
It hurt more too when Jack, I think he slapped Danny, right?
Mhm.
And then there was sort of that echoing of, oh, I'd never touch him again. I'd
Yep.
never hurt him again.
Yeah.
And Danny the whole time just forgiving Jack and knowing it's not him, but it
Mhm.
kind of echoes abuse, what the victims of abuse might really feel.
I think because it's not scary in the traditional like monsters or this is a scary moment of Jack chasing Danny down a hallway. But the moment I mentioned earlier, the scene in the ballroom where Jack is talking to Grady and Horace Derwent and the plethora of rich, actually powerful ghosts who are hedonistic and enjoying life. That scene shows what Jack's future is going to be. That scene is like a glimpse into the hell that Jack is sending himself to, because his entire character is about pride and wanting to be respected. But in this moment, that he is doing this all for a hotel that as soon as he gets what they want, he is going to be reduced to the lowest rung for eternity. It is a really stressful, sad, scary moment because you are watching him, because he's been fucking drugged, him not being able to grasp any of this. It's just out of his reach. And you see him already trapped in this
Purgatory.
doomed.
Yeah.
He's just surrounded by doom. And it's intense. It really got me.
Especially after how happy they all were when they first came to the Overlook. And there were just those moments. Wendy's the one who reflects on it and thinks like, things have never been better in our marriage. And we know that shortly, I think it was it 6 months maybe before this, she was about to ask him for a divorce.
And then the accident happened.
Mhm.
Yeah. For me, I think the scariest non-supernatural moment was revisiting the playing elevator with Jack's dad. It really got me this time. And the scariest supernatural moment is Mrs. Massey choking Danny. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
Every time I think about
he
it.
stops and he just closes his eyes and you're like, no.
And you're like, well, and because it's
He's
these
so
are
terrified,
they're
yeah.
pictures in a book. They're not going to hurt me.
I
And for a
know.
second, you, the reader, are also like, he did the thing.
Okay.
He did the thing.
New answer. That's my scariest non-supernatural moment when Dick is in the car with Danny and tells him nothing in there can hurt you.
Ooh,
When he basically gives Danny the worst, and he doesn't know, but the worst advice ever. And then you later see Danny relying on that and Dick just being wrong.
He was wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would like, if I may, to make Mrs. Massey a little less scary for me.
No.
I'm glad I said horny.
Glad I said round.
Now, if the podcast will indulge me as I read about the woman in the tub.
All right.
The woman in the podcast studio had been dead for a long time. She was gross and pink, her gas-filled belly rising out of the cold, lamp-rimmed water like some fleshy shard.
It's dangerous.
Her
Those are electricity, like danger.
Her eyes were fixed on Bill Nye's,
No.
glassy and huge, like balls. She was grinning, her purple lips pulled back in a horny grimace.
Yeah.
Her breasts lolled, her pubic hair floated. Her hands were frozen on the knurled metal sides of the tub like seahorses. Bill Nye shrieked, but the sound never escaped his lips. Turning inward and inward, it fell down in his vorpal blade like a quartz in the woods. He took a single gay step backward, hearing his heels clack on the white round tiles, and at the same moment, his shitting broke, spilling effortlessly out of him. The woman was floundering up, still grinning, her huge marble eyes fixed on him. She was sitting up. Her dead palms made bith noises on the porcelain. Her breasts swayed like ancient cracked curling stones. There was a minute sound of breaking ice shards. She was not breathing. She was Tasha Yar, and dead 18 weeks,
Oh, no.
3 days,
Killed
5
Tasha
hours,
Yar.
19 minutes, and 12 seconds.
Oh, that's the worst.
You killed Tasha Yar!
Oh, no.
Man, that big gay step backwards really helped me make it to the end of it.
I have a fan fiction to write.
Some of those were just perfect.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you both for indulging me in my nonsense.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this episode up, I would like to ask if you could ask King one thing about this book, what would it be? If you could get a straight answer about anything out of this book.
I would ask him if he thought about it, like if any thought at all crossed his mind when he named Dick. I just want to know, as he's writing, Danny was thinking, I need Dick. Shine for Dick. Where's Dick? Did King think everybody's going to be cool about this and mature?
I don't think
Did he even
audiobooks were a
notice?
thing. So Eve, anything?
Who's your favorite ghost? I gotta know.
That's a
Ooh,
great
yeah.
question.
Just in
Ooh.
general, not even from Shining. Just, I want to know who Stephen King's favorite ghost is.
That's very good.
Josh?
I actually didn't prepare an answer for this.
Uh-huh.
That's my hubris, taken down by my own hubris, just like Jack. I'm gonna cheat at my own question, and I would ask him what Jack's appearance in Dr. Sleep is meant to convey for the character.
That's a good one.
Because it's just a glimpse, and it feels like a redemption arc, but that might just be to me.
Can I give my real answer?
Yeah.
I would want to ask, I'm not sure how I would phrase this, what specific question, but I'm curious what King's thoughts, and I think you can make some assumptions based on how he wrote him, but what his thoughts about Jack are.
Oh.
And because he wrote a very complicated character. It's like, do you yourself see him as a lot of your readers do, or was there a different idea that you wanted to convey with him? Because there are a lot of characters that we've had like Jack.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right, listeners, if you want to chime in on answers to any of our questions with our fun thought experiments, go to our Discord. Links in the show notes. Hang out. We love chatting with everybody on Discord. Head over to our Patreon. You can join and follow it for free and see the things that are posted free. We're going to be doing some live streams there coming up that you'll have to be in the paid subscription tier for. But you can stop by and check it out for free now. So give it a go.
You took my outro, and you also
Sorry.
took my outro.
Do you-
And I have nothing to
That's-
plug at the end of this episode. And that is it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. As always, thank you for listening. Join us for our next episode where we are continuing Revisited, because listeners, for your $100 on that tier, we are going to do our best to give you way more content than we even initially promised.
Right. That's our
We
bag.
always do that. We are going to cover the documentary Room 237. For Joshua Kahn and Eve Gatto, I'm CM Alexander, telling you to join us next time.